All right, setting up meeting. Wow, this is so cool. Technology can sometimes be your friend.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So good morning. It's a rainy Monday here in Eureka, California, and I'm grateful that I have the technology and a computer and can still connect with my dear friend and colleague, Donnie Hill, who's down in the Bay Area of San Francisco. You are there today, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I'm down in Hayward, which is maybe 30 minutes southeast of San Francisco. So,
awesome.
Yeah, it just started raining here too.
Yeah, it's yesterday we had actually woke up with sun. Yesterday we had sun, and now we're back at the fog. It's evidently keeping track on the mood of the shelter in place today, which is great. So tell me, Donnie, I want to introduce people to you, but I want to say it in a way that makes sense. So I'll go first, and then you can maximize what I'm saying.
I'll follow along. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Donnie and I met about just 14 months ago. I think we finally met. Our circles were all interwoven, but about 14 months ago, we started doing some marketing work together and supporting some other people moving their businesses forward. And Donnie and I have a passion for CliftonStrengths and really the language of awareness for connection, for authentic vision, for sharing your authentic story and showing up in the world in bold ways. And so we've both been on these separate life paths in very different circles and committed to do the work internally and teach others how to rigorously bring our own level of awareness and put the effort in, I would even say, right?
Yeah.
It's put the effort in. I have sheets upon sheets today into appreciating not only your strengths, but this volume control. And really the only other person that I can language this in this way really would be you, Donnie. I speak it with a lot of people, but we sort of track in the up and down and the we're doing it all at the same time. And so I wanted to bring Donnie on today to kind of share some of that with you because he makes my coaching better too. So, and my inside game is better with his coaching in my life. So, Donnie, how would you introduce yourself? Make that better.
I really appreciate that. So the moniker I have is the Life Maximizer. But then when I recently took the CliftonStrengths again in July of last year, Maximizer was my number 2. So I was like, yeah, there we go. And how I think about myself is I really look at how do I either up my game, or if something's not working in my life or in my business or in my relationships, how can I make it better? And that's really where the importance of the language that CliftonStrengths uses is important, because it gives me a way to talk about what I do and what I'm passionate about. And it also gives me a way to talk to clients and groups about how they can use their natural strengths to guide themselves. And I really enjoyed connecting with you over these past 14 months because I get to geek out with someone who gets CliftonStrengths and who appreciates it and integrates it in business. And it's a lot of fun for me.
Oh, awesome. I was thinking about, originally when we said, let's go have a conversation, let's track this a little bit. But there's the relevance of this moment to me is that the vulnerability that is present, my strengths aren't showing up in their normal awesomeness. They are still very awesome. Yet the not so awesome is very here too. And, so because we're navigating, we love our strengths when we're coming in with confidence and we know where to aim them. But this other place of really even how I hold myself when those overuse patterns, or I'm not getting the result, or or I don't have the bandwidth to hold up that intention all of the time. Like,
Hmm.
I'm like, oh, it's hard to keep up there all the time. I needed to be human today. And
Yeah,
so what are you experiencing in that?
I'm experiencing that as well. Like positivity is my number five, and it's something that I'm leaning into a lot now during this time. But I also recognize that it has both a balcony and a basement, as you talk about it. Like there's a light side to it, and there's a shadow side to it. And what I have to remind myself, particularly now on the days where I'm not feeling so positive, is that sometimes I just need to grieve, or sometimes I need to be in sadness or frustration or disappointment, and allow myself the freedom to live in that moment too,
Yeah.
because you have to bounce back and forth between the two. You can't always be at maximizer. You can't always be driving the bus with positivity or adaptability, because they're exhausting. They're exhausting. And so I feel like a lot of what's happening right now is I'm using my strengths to allow me to be more human, if that makes sense.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's like maximizing, like for me, it's my number five. So like I'm in pursuit of making things better. What's the best day we can have? What's the most efficient
Mm-hmm.
we could be? And I was listening to one of the Gallup podcasts last week, and we're in the middle of our Spark Challenge. So I'm creating journaling prompts, right now. It's free to play if you want to play along, but I'm just noticing like that's my preferred autopilot way of using that theme. But if I let one of my other themes lead in this moment, kind of what you were just saying, it's like positivity has moved to 18 for me. So it's not, I
Mm-hmm.
can work in less positive environments now without really being triggered.
Yeah.
But I'm noticing my partnerships, like the normal partnerships that I've had, like when you want to, not only within yourself, but like even, in these times, like, are you noticing synergy is like different synergies are needed than
Yeah.
what worked in the normal time. So like you almost need to partner with people of a different theme set, or like it's not working in some of those same patterns. So we either have to redesign it or also look at who are those partners for this moment. Have you given that any thought?
I have Relator as my number one, and prior to shelter in place, I was thinking about Relator in terms of how do I strategically build out my business. Strategic is my number four as well. So how do I build genuine and deep connections with people for the sake of growing my business and growing my network? And now with shelter in place, what I'm really finding is, how can I be most helpful? How can I be kinder? How can I be more loving? And so I'm using my Relator differently in order to give what's needed now versus, okay, I need to grow my business. No, I just need to support human beings.
Yeah. So there's like the being and the doing energies of each of them. And it's easy when you're building a business to want to do and do more because we're trying to create income. But can we, and this is like something that people ask me, a lot of the entrepreneurs is like, you keep talking about way of being, but if I play that way of being out, does that work out? Like they're curious, like what's like, because we're coming in with these soft skills onto these teams and they're like, why do you keep talking about that?
Because that is going to be what sustains you in the long run.
Yeah. It is going to be what
When
sustains.
when you think about, I guess, the shift in your communication from pre-COVID to now, what's changed on your end?
Great question. That's such a big question. I think I recognize how tired I was from listening.
Yeah.
Like my, like as much as I'm inspired. Like, I think my individualization I was leading with, and I'm like, there's a unicorn, there's a unicorn, there's a unicorn. And I'm like appreciating these businesses that I do this brand musing for, or doing video content. I love content creation so much on these teams. And so building teams of content creators, and I'm enjoying all of that, but I don't right now have to hold that. Like, I'm reducing the amount of bandwidth intentionally, my time. I'm reducing the amount of soundboarding, uh, which to me, I think is, there's like trusting myself in that space that the business doesn't slow down if I do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to slow down if
Yeah.
you stop listening. And you know, boundaries, and really trying to hear what, not what I need, but what I want. Like, if, because you can come to this edge as, even as if you know your strengths, but there's so much of them that are geared and wired like to go prove something, to prove I'm a good listener, or to prove, you know what I mean? Like, all of those energies. So I've been looking at in my identity and how I've seen these strengths show up. Am I really creating the work-life balance or flow that's going to sustain me? And for me, that was one of the biggest things, was where, you know, who gets my headspace.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you think about, so one of the things we were talking about along the way is like to communicate that authenticity. And we're sort of like noodling down into that. But there's this authentic space of communication that we work around it. We don't always drop into it. And so people do discover along the way what they've created isn't necessarily the most authentic life for them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard because I'm finding there's the realization of not living in the life that you thought you created for yourself. Mm-hmm. And then there's the processing of it. And then there's the decision-making part of it. And I think it's really easy for people to try and bypass the processing and being with the life that they created for themselves. We were just talking about this prior to starting the call, is I realized there are parts of my life and my relationships, my business, that haven't been fulfilling. And I've been trying to use my positivity to make it look good or sound good. But if I'm honest with myself, it's like, oh no, this part needs to change. And so now I'm getting to explore what authenticity looks like in that particular section of my life.
Yeah.
And it feels really good to be able to give myself permission and space and freedom to say, oh, this is what I want it to look like. And I get to leverage my ideation strength and my futuristic strength to figure out what that is going to be. But I also realize now the importance of being in the sadness, or being in the disappointment, or being in the grief, or being in the frustration, because for me, that is just the doorway into this new experience. And I think it's the same for communication. Because I wasn't being honest with myself, I wasn't communicating honestly about what I wanted or what I needed. And partly because I didn't know. Like, I knew it wasn't that, but I didn't have the words or the vision for what the new thing was. And so the analogy I started using is, I'm just going to baby my way through it, meaning I'm just going to, I don't know, until I start getting the words, or until I start getting the visuals of the new experience that I want to see. And now, as I'm getting more clarity around what this new communication looks like, or what my new life looks like, or what my new business looks like, or what my new relationships look like, it's becoming easier to talk about it, because I'm now being truthful about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that we have to first be here. We have to be with what is and explore that and investigate that kindly. Because like
Yeah.
if we unpacked that other inner voice, and I know Harvard did a study, and it's like you have to, if you name it, like mine have many names, but you want to name whatever that little counter voices, because it helps you as soon as you stop judging it and you're like, you can start identifying like this one is for me and this voice is telling me to hide, back off, play along, perform, ignore it.
Yeah.
And right now I'm hearing that invitation. So there is that need to be comfortable, look good, be in control. There's so much of that. Be right. Those are the four drivers, the four horsemen against these. And my strengths when the four horsemen are here look very different, and how I communicate is different. And so there's like holding like whatever. Then for me, like it's looking at the needs of 11 through 15 in these moments, like looking at how to show up from like 6 through 10. That's what I do, is like, how can I aim 6 through 10 right now? And then like, oh, what did I need at number 11? Because my autopilot isn't going to work because the world changed. So what's happening under a number 11? What do I need? What's 12? What's 13? What's 14? What's 15? Because I think people, when they're identifying what's true, they sometimes try to shrink it down. And that's just because they tried to organize the data in a way that would be resourceful. But then people are like, even with the four domains, they're like, themes. How will I ever get anything done? I have no executing. And it's like, when you execute differently. If I'm going to execute with self-assurance, which is my number 11, I'm just going to show. And that's what I keep saying when people ask me, and I'm like, I have no idea how I'm going to do it. I'm told last time, like, I'm here for it. That's what I've said that like 27 times, like in the last, I'm here for it. That's all I know to do right now is show up.
It's funny because my number 11 is activator. And I didn't
12.
think of myself as that. But now I'm starting all of these things. It's like, okay, well, I'm definitely leveraging activator right now.
I've got a lot of tabs open, Donnie. Got a lot of tabs open. That's what my activator does. Like, start it. It's so funny. We should compare screens sometime.
We should.
Yeah. I love it. So the other thing that I'm noticing is there's been this permission. I'm not sure which of my strengths is here, but I'm hearing like so many people get creative in how they're going to do the work and manifest the work now. So there is like this opening in the world right now to bring more authenticity and creativity to it, which is really exciting. Are you noticing that in your own business, or what are you doing for people in that light?
I am. What I'm finding for many of my clients is they're having to learn how to give themselves permission to do it differently.
Yeah.
Because they put themselves in this box, or their work has defined them in this very specific container, and now they're having to break out of that container to say, all right, this information and these experiences have served me, but how do I take them and take pieces of them and identify how I can put them on these new areas that I want to explore. And so it's been a lot of conversations around not dismissing their experiences, but appreciating and leveraging their experiences to then fine tune what they want to do moving forward. And that's so exciting because it's like the light switch turns back on for people, and my maximizer and ideation get to play. So I get to help them think about their work differently, or think about themselves differently, or help them appreciate an aspect of themselves that either hasn't been appreciated before, or they haven't realized that it was a gift for them, and that it's a gift for the people that they want to serve. And it's been an incredibly gratifying experience watching the joy come back into these leaders and business professionals and human beings in general. I think part of the intention behind Life Maximizer is really to help people reconnect with their joy.
Mm.
whether it's through their work, whether it's through leading, whether it's through conversations. Um, because now we're at this pivot point where the old world is crumbling or has crumbled. And now this new world is emerging and this new experience is emerging. And people get to be more intentional about how they want to see it moving forward. And it's like, yeah, you get to be the facilitator of that.
Oh, I love that. So I'm plugging your session because I did my discovery session, maximizer session in December, because I was at a crossroads in wanting to redesign my business and add more joy. And I got stuck with not wanting to leave people behind, but knowing if I didn't level up, they wouldn't be able to level up if I didn't keep growing. And so I was trying to figure out, like, if the trains had gone off, would I ever, the trains had gone off, and I had been very successful in the last few years, but I don't know that those were the trains that I had intended to get on. I just jumped on them because they were taking off. So it wasn't like, yeah, it was like, oh, this is what's working. Let's go with what's working. And so, which was great. And I've learned a lot through that time, but it was, I was feeling a little burnout from that at that time. And I was trying to reshift my experience of working from home, even though I was traveling a lot at the same time. I was on the road a lot. And so in my session with Donnie, which I just want to encourage you, and I'm going to try to put this link here. I'll put it in the comments when we're done here. So I did a session, and I think it was like an hour or 50 minutes. I think that's what we did. And, and I think that, and I'm wondering if it's your ideation, but there was something about, you didn't ask me the questions that most strengths coaches, like, it wasn't like, let's go in and analyze. You asked me, I don't even know, but I'm like, it like gone into this other part of my brain. like nobody's asked me that. It was looking for the joy in that, but I'm like, it was just it embodied very differently. And so in a very short period of time, I got clarity about some things that I really wanted. And like, how can I just play more in this business? How can we bring more play? How can we infuse more connection into all that we're doing? And that's the body of what your work does, and my work does too, to many degrees. But it's like you're really infusing this meaning and connection and joy in places where people just walk right by and miss it. They don't even notice the authenticity available because of the autopilot. And you're speaking life and vision, but you're not doing it with an agenda. You really just come at it from this other angle that is, so like in 50 minutes, somebody could have like a brand new experience of what even the next 30 days could be like. Like, that's how I would describe that maximizer session.
I appreciate that. As you were talking about it, what came to mind was a conversation that I had with a new acquaintance the other day. She's an executive director of a nonprofit organization. And I think with a lot of nonprofit organizations right now, they're looking at how do they continue to find funding for their programs. And so the question I asked her was, well, if you didn't have to play by the rules of nonprofit organization standards, so what kind of events would you be doing? Or what kind of webinars would you be holding? What kinds of conversations would you be holding? She just said, I haven't thought about that before. I've always thought about, okay, these are what the governing boards of nonprofit organizations say that we can do. And I'm going to fall into those parameters, where now there's so much disruption across how any type of organization is going to fund themselves. Like, they have to think differently about their work or their approach to their work. And one of the things that I enjoyed so much about our session was it wasn't my agenda. It was that I wanted to see what the spark in you was, and how could I ask a question that would reignite that spark, or help you remember, oh yeah, I got this, and this is what I really do want to do, or this isn't what I want to do. And that just led into a whole nother conversation. And so it was really a beautiful thing to watch it unfold in real time, but then also see you just run and go with it.
I did kind of go with it. I'm like, I just want to tell stories. Like I want to work with people, but I want to amplify those stories with, and I want empathy to be in everything that we're doing, and honesty. And so I run with that, and partnering with Guide Social, with helping, I'm having so much fun on TikTok. I'm really having so much fun helping people get on TikTok right now. And we were talking the other day about everybody that has to bring their business online and how to show up. Like this strengths work is so critical. And I'm not doing any more one-to-one sessions, just to let you all know that are here today. I would recommend you message Donnie. It's significant if you have to show up online or in your life at all. Hint, hint. If you don't pursue, like we can shorten the path if you just understand what your energies are, and drivers and motivations and needs. Like if that data was available, would you want it? Because it will help you have more compassion for others, and to see uniquely how they want to approach showing up online or in video or in business, but you really need a guide to shorten the path. It would take you forever to do it on your own. The process can feel complicated. And so you want to invest in at least 4 sessions with a strengths coach like Donnie in order to do that. And Donnie brings more than strengths. That's just one of the tools in his kit. Donnie, what else? What are your other favorite tools? I know you do strategy and marketing and.
Yeah, I love road mapping with people, and that's what I use for visioning and strategy work. Because it's one thing to have the idea, but it's another for road mapping how to get from where you are today to where you are, and then how do you leverage your strengths or lay your strengths on top of that. Whether it's about you executing the work or you influencing and building relationships with the people who need to do the work for you. And so that would be another piece. And then I do work with teams as well. So I really, I'm a former collegiate athlete. I was a pole vaulter in college, and also a personal trainer. And so I love high performance teams, or people who are interested in that kind of rigor and discipline. Maybe that's the sadistic side of me, but there's something very gratifying about it. And my maximizer is like, yes, excellence at its next level. And so if people are looking for some work with their teams or their organizations, I can help with that as well.
That's awesome. Well, and high performance in this moment is a different game. And so there's so much there. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Donnie, for coming and hanging out with us. Can you tell them the name of your website, and I will post it in the comments?
Sure. If you want to check out my website, it is thelifemaximizer.com. And it has all my information on there too. So we can stay connected in a number of different ways.
Beautiful. Well, this is great. I feel super grounded. It's like owning the awesome and not awesome, but really looking at the nuance underneath us. To leverage them, we have to embrace the vulnerability and the confidence that we feel in this space. And so it does require extra support in this moment. And I'm grateful for your presence in my clients' lives and in my life, and all the joy that has come through because of how bold you're helping us get.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, one of the things that have stood out over the past couple of months is this emotional support that's needed underneath everything that's happening right now. And I think as communities look at rebuilding, as organizations look at rebuilding, as teams look at rebuilding, That's such an important piece to bring to the equation now, because it's no longer just about getting results. It's about how do you take care of the human beings in your sphere as well. And so thank you for creating that space for me to show up in this way.
Yeah, so my pleasure. All right, thank you again. And thanks everyone for joining us today. Reach out to Donnie. And if you'd like to be a guest on my channel here, message me. Would love to have more awesome conversations. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
All right, bye everybody.